In today's video, I'm going to be demoing and reviewing the brand new Natasha Denona My Dream palette, as well as the lipstick that's a part of this collection. This is the Natasha shade of her lipsticks, but it's in her more satin formula. Previously, the Natasha shade has only been brought out in her matte I Need a Nude formula, so this is more of a satin formula for this shade. So I'm going to be demoing that as well as showing you how I did this eyeshadow look and sharing my thoughts on both products. So if you'd like to see all of that, just keep on watching. Now, if you watched my most recent new and upcoming makeup video where I talked about new releases and upcoming makeup releases and shared my plans on whether or not I was going to buy them, I said that I was going to skip this whole My Dream collection from Natasha Denona. The main draw for Natasha Denona's collections always, to me, are the eyeshadow palettes. And I just felt that looking at the promo photos of this palette, it looked like a lot of shades that I already have in my other Natasha Denona palettes. I have most of her other palettes, so I felt like I could probably pretty easily dupe this palette, but I got sucked in by the early access. I was awake in the middle of the night the morning that this palette came out on Sephora, the early access for Rouge. And just looking at the pictures again, I got caught up in the excitement of a new Natasha Denona palette and decided to order it. And I ordered the lipstick along with it. This is the Natasha lipstick. Now there's also a cheek palette that's part of this collection, and for some reason that wasn't showing up on the new at Sephora page on the app. And so I'd kind of forgotten about it in the excitement of ordering these products and remembered afterwards and placed another order for the cheek palette after I had placed this order. So that is still on its way to me. It'll hopefully be here on Monday, but I wanted to film with the palette and the lipstick and get my first impressions up and a look out with the palette before the cheek palette came in. But I will be reviewing the cheek palette as well, and in that video I'll also be going a little bit more in depth with the eyeshadow palette and providing some comparisons and maybe even seeing if I can try to do my best to dupe this palette with the existing Natasha Denona shadows that I already had in my collection, because that was my initial plan, was to just try to dupe it without even buying the palette. But now that I have the palette, I'll be able to really compare the shades. So first I'm going to show you my swatches of this palette. Shades are Blackest Black, Matte Intense Black, Aspiration, Matte Dark Penny Brown, Serenity, Satin Medium Cool Brown, Carpe Diem, Matte Medium Dusty Peach, Babies, Metallic Light Medium Rosy Nude, Instinct Cream Powder Matte Medium Fuchsia, Thrill Sparkling Metallic Duochrome Golden Nude with Pink Shift, Unity Matte Medium Light Pink Nude, Risk Metallic Medium Maroon, Invention Sparkling Metallic Duochrome Tangerine with Bronze and Golden Sparks, Vision Multichrome Metallic Shifts of Green, Pink, Nude, and Gold, Edgy Cream Powder Matte Medium Dark Eggplant, Spontaneous Metallic Light Pearl Nude, Nurture Matte Medium Cool Nude, and Familia Matte Medium Caramel Brown. And now let's get into the demo of how I did this eye look. As with all NATASHA DENONA palettes, I'm quite impressed with this one. I think the shades are beautiful, and although I don't think it's revolutionary in terms of the shades that we're getting in here, I think a lot of these shades are similar to other ones in her collection. I like the way that these are put together. It's overall a kind of neutral feeling palette. You've got some cooler leaning shades, some warmer leaning shades, but I think for me, the most exciting thing about this palette is how she's done some of these neutrals to be really interesting shades in spite of being neutrals. And I think that is one of the things that can take a neutral from just being kind of a boring color into being something really special, is when it has that sort of je ne sais quoi quality where you're looking at the shade and you're just not quite sure what it is. You're seeing lots of different nuances and different tones mixed together. And I think to me, that's what takes a neutral eye look into something really special in spite of still being fairly neutral toned. So it's wearable, but there's still so much interest going on. Nurture here was the first shade that I started out with. That was my transition shade. And I kind of kept going back into that shade to further blend things and just add that tone back in. And I think it really is the perfect transition shade because it's pretty neutral, not too warm, not too cool, not too dark, not too light. It just gives the most beautiful shadow and really helps to kind of blow out a look, which I think is kind of a signature NATASHA DENONA style, is that really kind of blown out, smoky looking eye. NATASHA describes this one as a matte, medium, cool nude. So she is saying it's cool. And I can see that because it does provide more of a kind of contour, but I don't find it so cool or gray that it's going to be really stark or harsh looking. By far, my favorite shade in this whole palette is this one right here, Babies. This is kind of the ultimate example, I think, of what I was talking about kind of a nuanced neutral with that je ne sais quoi sort of quality. I just see something different from every angle with this shade. And I think it pairs so nicely with the other shades in this palette. NATASHA describes this one as a metallic, light, medium, rosy nude. So you can see the rosiness there. It's nude too. It's got that kind of beigey quality. The reflect on it is really stunning. And this is one that I can definitely see myself just putting all over the eyelid and being really happy with that. Another gorgeous one, and one that I used in the center of my lid, is Spontaneous. And that's described as a metallic light pearl nude. It's another one that has just such a bright reflect. Thrill is gorgeous as well. This is one of the duochrome shades. Thrill is described as a sparkling metallic duochrome golden nude with pink shift. So a gold to pink duochrome, really stunning. Then Invention here is another duochrome, and this one has a really strong flip. See it on the finger. It's described as a sparkling metallic duochrome tangerine with bronze and golden sparkle. But I feel like it almost has kind of like a reddish pink base. I guess that's the tangerine. And then that beautiful light gold shift. That's another one that I think would look amazing just all over the eyelid. And then there's one multi-chrome. This one is Vision. I don't know if it comes across on camera, but the smoothness of that shade is really exceptional. To me, this is smoother than any of the multi-chromes that NATASHA has done before. It feels like definitely a different formula from the multi-chromes in her Trio Chrome palette. Those were a little bit kind of drier. They just weren't quite as creamy and intense as this one seems to be, and as smooth as this. I don't typically get very excited for these kind of like purple shifting green duochromes. I just feel like that's a very common duochrome or multi-chrome that you'll get, is that kind of magenta with the green. But I think what makes this one different is the texture as well as the nude shift that you get in there. I don't think you're gonna quite be able to see it come across in my swatch. Maybe it's better on the finger. It doesn't really come through, but when you look at it in the pan, there's also, you can kind of see it on the edge there. this really light kind of pinky nude shift, which is quite interesting. It's described as a multi-chrome metallic with shifts of green, pink, nude, and gold. So yeah, I don't think all those shifts are quite coming through on camera, but you can definitely see them in real life. And I used this one actually to top off my liner. So I lined with the Blackest Black, which by the way is a shade that she's had for a long time. I think it's the first product she ever came out with was a Blackest Black powder eyeshadow, but this is in the cream to powder, which is a new version of this shade for her. And I like having a black in that type of formula because I don't typically go for black eyeshadows because they're quite intense. They're just a little bit too dark for me in general. But the cream to powder formula is a little bit more kind of sheer in a sense, more buildable. And I like to be able to work with the black color in that formula. So I used that for liner and then I topped it over with the multi-chrome shade, and I just like the effect that that gives because the black base is going to intensify any multi-chrome or duochrome, and the multi-chrome kind of softens the effect of the black at the same time and gives a really nice kind of sense of interest because you're getting this shift all across the lid, and when you move your head, you're going to see the different colors just on that little line, which is kind of fun. While I am reminded of both the Glam palette and the Retro palette by this one, I'm also reminded of the Sunrise palette, which I wasn't necessarily expecting, but if you look at the Sunrise palette, it has a lot of those kind of peachy tones, so I feel like some of the mattes are kind of reflecting those peachier, kind of warmer tones. But also those nuanced metallics, I think, give sort of a similar feel to some of the kind of more nude or lighter metallics that you find in the Sunrise palette. So I will be interested to do some comparisons with that one. And as I said, mainly the Glam and Retro, I think, will be the other main contenders for comparisons here. And I'll also pull out the Trio Chrome palette, particularly for the multi-chrome shade that's in this palette. So those are my initial thoughts on the palette. I'll try to do at least one more look for my next video when I'm doing the cheek palette review. But for now, that's really all I have to say about the palette. And then I'll show myself applying the Natasha My Dream lipstick. This is described as a light neutral pink on the Sephora webpage for this specific product. I seem to recall it being described as a light dusty coral or a pale coral, something along those lines in the I Need a Nude range. So I find it interesting that they've kind of changed the description. I think it is a light neutral pink. I'm pleasantly surprised by how this looks on me. I find that most of Natasha's lipsticks pull a little bit gray, so they tend to not really work all that well on me. And I can definitely see the gray in this one as well, but I think it's okay. I've worn it without a liner and I feel fairly comfortable with this. The formula feels very nice. It's a satin formula. It's very smooth. It feels hydrating. I think this is supposed to be the same formula as her I Need a Rose lipsticks, of which I have one, but this feels to me more comfortable. The I Need a Rose felt maybe just a little bit thicker or a little bit like almost drier or kind of slightly tackier than this one. It could just be the weather though. The weather is warm right now and it was cold when I tried the other one. So it might just be that the formula is a little bit softened by the temperature. I'm gonna try swatching them though, just to see if there is a difference. So there's the new My Dream one. This one's the shade Peony. Yeah, this one just feels maybe a little bit grippier and not quite as smooth and soft as the new one. So I'm not sure if those are the exact same formula, but I think that's what she said. Either way, this new one feels really nice, really comfortable. And it feels like it's grabbed onto the lip, so it's not just gonna slip off. It's not one of those slippy, balmy feeling formulas. It feels like it's got a good staying power to it, but it's not dry or sticky at the same time. So I think this is quite a good formula. And although I found it went on pretty shiny, I feel that the shine has kind of just worn down a little bit. I've been wearing it probably about 20 minutes now, and it's just kind of sunk in and settled down a little bit, which is nice because I don't like too shiny of a lip usually. The packaging is really cute, both for the eyeshadow palette and for the lipstick. I saw some kind of mixed thoughts on the packaging for the palette with the splatters. Some people weren't a fan of that. I like that. I think it gives that kind of artistic vibe. I like the handwriting script here for the My Dream palette, and the texture of the palette is really interesting too. It has a little bit of a kind of soft matte feel to it, and then the splatters are shinier and smoother, so it gives a really nice dimension, and the script and the writing is that kind of shiny smooth black as well. I actually love the shade of this. It's a really interesting nude shade, which I think kind of reflects the inside of the palette in a fun way, because it's another one of those kind of interesting nuanced nudes that you're going to find a lot of in the palette as well. Kind of like a very, very pale, desaturated coral almost. And then the color of the lipstick packaging is the same, and it has the same splatters on it. And it also has that really neat kind of soft matte feel to it, which I think just adds something really special to this. The weight of it is good. It's the same kind of feel in the hand in terms of the weight as her other lipsticks, but I just think it's really nice to have this special packaging. And I'm always a sucker for an interesting kind of nude tone packaging. So for now, I think I'm going to leave it there with my first impressions of this collection. Stay tuned for my next video where I'm going to be reviewing and demoing the My Dream Cheek palette and going into further detail about the eyeshadow palette as well, and hopefully providing some comparisons and maybe trying to dupe this palette as best as I can with my existing Natasha Denona shades. So if you'd like to see that, make sure you subscribe, hit the notification bell so you'll know when that video goes up. Let me know if you have any questions or comments below. I always love to see those. If you'd like to see more from me and you haven't subscribed already, I'd love for you to do so. Thank you so much for watching. Take care, and I'll see you in my next video. Bye.